Today I'm going to demonstrate the photography of a live human louse. So human louse is singular. When it's many, it's plural, it would be lice. So I was able to obtain some specimens of human lice from a local source. And even though I'm videotaping this with my iPhone 15 Pro, it's kind of hard to see, but you do see that it's moving. And human lice, when they're off of the human host, I think can live anywhere from 1 to 2 days if they're hardy adults. And they have a tendency when they're off the host to kind of cling to human hair. And so this one is clinging to a human hair. It's about 3 to 5 millimeters in length. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it in my carbon dioxide chamber and hopefully get a good image of it. There is one focus stack image that's very good on the internet, but I want to see if I could do a little bit better and keep it alive. So this is my setup that I have previously shown, where I am using this custom made diffusion box that gets carbon dioxide injected here. And for the setup for this particular shoot, I am using the Canon R5 that has a bellows tube. And at the end of the bellows tube, there is a 4x objective. And on the stage, I have a strand of human hair so that the louse will have some contrast instead of just being on the plain white stage. So I am using the Cognisys rail, and I'm gonna do the first attempt at 50 microns, which should give me, I don't know, I would say at least 30 images. So as I've demonstrated this before, I use Alien B lights for this. So I use a total of 4. So I use Alien B 800 on the left and the right, and an Alien B up on top. It's 1600 and an Alien B 400 in the back to give it rim light. So these lights are not at full power. They're set to less than full power. And I'm not going to talk about the lighting ratios. I'm just going to talk about now using a bellows to get you really close to a louse, because normally I do this with a tube that is mounted to the camera, and the microscope objective is mounted at the end of the tube, but I'm getting a lot of reflection back, refraction, and I'm not exactly sure why. So I think if I do it this way, I'm going to get a lot less, and we're going to go through the process of photographing that louse, which I think it should still be there on that strand of hair, and we'll see how it goes. This is where I sourced the lice for the photography that I did at Knit Pixies Organic Lice Removal in Oakland. They're very good at doing this, so if you have an issue and you're in the local Oakland area, see Knit Pixies. So here I was able to take the louse out of the vial, and you can see that actually there's 2 of them in there on the hair, and they're moving around. So I'm going to transfer it now to the chamber, and hopefully this is going to work so that I'm able to photograph it. My attempt at getting the louse to stay on the human hair was very difficult. It was crawling to an end of the rubber band that was holding the strand of hair together. And human lice, what they have is they have these very sharp claws at the end of their legs, and that really grasped the hair, so it just wasn't cooperating. So this one I have under gas, and it seems to be staying still, so I'm just going to have to photograph it on a plain white background. But there you could see that this potentially will work with a human louse. So I was able to get it to run. Again, I'm doing this at about 50 microns with the Cognisys Stack Shot Rail. It's a total of 47 images. And what I did is on the louse, I picked the leg and claw that was closest to me as the start point. And then I zoomed with a, well, not zoomed, I moved the rail forward so that the last focus point would be the leg and claw on the opposite side of me. And then the algorithm in the rail on the stag shot then moves. And so again, here you're seeing it from a side view. And in order to get close, I had to use a bellows mounted to the camera in order to get in that close. And because of movements, the stack shot only moves in increments of 10 seconds. So there's no movement. And as it runs through this, I'm going to start to get images. So I'm going to have to do this a couple of different ways because I have 2 days of life, I think, of these lice being alive. Again, I'd like to try it on that strand of hair, but what was happening is it was coming down into the rubber band. And in the process, I lost one. Somewhere back here in my garage, there's a louse, but I'm not worried about it getting on me. It'll probably die since it doesn't have a supply of blood, and we'll see how these images turn out of an organism that is hard to see it this detailed and not photographed very often with this kind of a setup. And this is just to show you, this is the carbon dioxide. I have it on a hose that runs to the back of the chamber, and I have this piece of plastic which is actually a muffin container that holds a number of commercially available muffins, and that's the best way that I could find to kind of hold the carbon dioxide in the chamber. And because the tolerances are so tight on this box that was made, the only leak that I get out of this is very minor, so it does work. And as we go here and we look at the stack moving, you could start to see that you already see a lot of the details, including a strand of hair that the louse had stuck to its very sharp claw. I'm going to do now a frontal shot of the louse, and it actually started to come to from the CO2 that had been given. Each insect behaves different under carbon dioxide, and lice, what I'm finding out, is doesn't need much CO2. Some insects, especially when they're small, like the small beetles, close up their spiracles rather quickly, and unless you chill them down in the freezer and then subject them to CO2, they won't hold a pose. As soon as you put on the CO2, they flip upside right or upside down, and you're not able to get the image that you want. So I think this is probably as best as I can do with this particular creature, because those very sharp claws, as you'll see in the resulting final images, kind of keep it from holding a flat pose, but this kind of a stance that it has, like this. And then here you can see as I go back and forth, you can see those claws. So anyways, I'm going to run it. It's gas now, and it's going to cooperate and not move too much. As the stack continues probably towards the middle of the body of the louse, because we're about, I say 23 of the 62 images that it's running on this particular stack, you could see some of the details in the middle, and you could see how the stance of the louse is such that the very sharp claws at the end keep it in that kind of a stance. You can't really see what's going on here, but I was finally able to get it to stay still, the louse, and artistically mount it on that little strand of hair. So if we come back to the back of the camera, you can see what I'm trying to do is artistically set it on human hair instead of on the white background, so that the photo's a little bit more interesting of what the louse actually looks like when it's attached to human hair. So as I have the louse artistically arranged on the human hair, I actually decided to go down to 20 microns distance, which I think is thinner than human hair in the spaces that the rail moves forward. So at 20 microns, it's 186 images, and it's going to take, as you can see there, about almost 27, 28 minutes. And here you could see the human hair. You can't quite see the louse yet. It'll come into focus maybe in 10 minutes, but as it's moving there, each of those shots is getting exposed. And again, just to show you the setup one more time, I've got 4 alien bees lights, one left and one right, one from on top and one from behind. And as the lights shoot the box diffuses all that light with the diffusion panels inside. And here you could see the bellows that holds that 4x microscope objective. Artistically arranging this louse has been difficult on human hair, but I think I got it. I actually had to use those glasses that dentists use when they're cleaning your teeth or working on your mouth in order to get down to that detail, in order to move the individual strands of hair so that the louse would be posed perfectly on the human hair. So I think it's going to work now. I'm going to do it again, spaced at 20 microns, about 186 pictures, and it should work this time. Now I'm doing a final run at 10 microns. So at 10 microns, it's 230 images. It's going to take over a half hour, and you could start to see that the outer focus point is starting to show as this will run for about a half hour. I'm able to take all the photographs that I took, which were 230, and then I'll open the images from Photoshop, excuse me. Now that I have the 230 photographs, I moved the 230 images from my computer to Helicon Focus. So I load them on, and there they all are loaded, and you could see the louse on the strands of hair. And I use method B, and I will hit render. And as the program runs and that algorithm does its thing, you could see that my computer tower is making a lot of noise, and that's that it has a pretty powerful graphics card and water cooling, but it'll slowly start to pop up the image. It takes a little bit. This is just a demonstration purpose with the JPEGs, because if I do it with the raw images that I took when I did this, I'm going to get a lot more detail than this. So here it is. I just didn't need to take it into Photoshop, and you could see a lot of details on the louse, and the dark spots that you see inside the interior of the abdomen is probably the blood meal that it had on the little kid that it was on. So I'll come in and I'll show you the difference between 230 and maybe 100 focus stack images of a human louse.